Hello there folks, it's Ben here from Naturehood and welcome to the latest in our series of Facebook Live events. Today's theme is edible gardens, so I'll be taking a few minutes just to walk you around our space and some of the features that are in here. Just a bit of a backstory really. We've been in this house for about 3 years now, and the people that we acquired it from, the bloke who lived here used to be a real serious gardener, proper horticulturalist. So we're kind of part way through converting a very formal laid out garden to our own slightly less formal tastes. We haven't got a massive veg patch or anything like that, but we do really love the idea of getting the food from our own space. So I'll take you on a little walk around and show you some of the things that we've got and how it can sort of, add a bit of interest, a bit of value to your life and save you a few quid down at the shop as well. Having said that though, I'm blatantly going to cheat. And the first thing I'm going to point out is my neighbour's elder tree. Now that one, it's gone over now, but the past couple of months was really good this year for elderflowers, and that's a fantastic resource. You can make cordial out of it. If you particularly like the sound of bottles exploding in your understairs cupboard, you can make elderflower champagne as well, and it's really good. The berries not so much, but the elderflower is a fantastic natural resource, and you can see it on hedgerows and lay-bys across the country. Now here we've got mint, obviously a lovely kind of native herb, really fragrant, good with your lamb if you like that. Otherwise it goes well with a host of things, puddings and stuff like that. And well, I'm not going to lie, we have had the occasional mojito around here, so it's good to have a bit of mint growing within the space. Now, mint is notoriously aggressive in a garden. It shoots its suckers, it will take over everything that you put it in. So a lot of people will recommend that you grow it in a container, but for ourselves, it's a bit of a sort of non-corner of the garden, so we're quite happy to sacrifice it and turn it over to the mint. We're not really bothered if it goes a bit wild, but if it's in another bed, then do watch out for it, because it does have a habit of taking over. Next on the list, the bee obligingly taking off from it. I mean, we've got lavender here. I mean, I've seen a number of MasterChef episodes where people have done elaborate creations with lavender. Personally, I don't use it, but it is a fantastic resource for the bees, and look, we've got a lovely little subject on the case as it is, just completely sidetracked by the bee there. This is obviously in its full spate now. It come on actually just after the other two, which are a bit more on topic for this, the rosemary, and we've got a couple of bushes of thyme here. Now these, as well as being fantastic to eat, these guys also flower, and these ones flowered earlier on in the spring. So between these and the lavender, we've got pollinator-friendly flowering right through from the very start of spring, and that lavender will be going on well into the summer. In terms of the thyme, the rosemary, there's not much of anything really that goes through our kitchen that doesn't have a bit of it chucked in. You can have your roasted vegetables, obviously with meat, stocks, soups, stews, pretty much everything will benefit from that. And again, it's a quid that you don't have to spend down at the supermarket, so it's really rewarding thing to grow. And we mulch the beds. They're good for ground cover. They pretty much look after themselves because they're just woody perennials and really good to have around. So moving on, next case in point, we got some oregano here. Oregano, I'm not quite sure which, and you can see here it's still in flower. Another really good pollinator-friendly species, fantastically aromatic. You need to take it with a bit of caution because the fresh stuff's a lot more punchy than the dried stuff that you get. But with pasta sauces, you can make a little pesto out of it as well. Just mush it up with some garlic and olive oil. Again, a fantastic thing, and you can see how it's still in flower now. A great resource for your pollinators as well. Less so for the pollinators, but another staple of the kitchen are the bay leaves. I've not paid for a bay leaf in the 3 years that we've been here, and again, it's a fantastic resource. My daughter finds the concept of bay leaves hilarious. The fact that kind of every time I'm making a sauce or something like that, don't forget the leaf, Daddy, don't forget the leaf. Okay, so we're now round into the back garden. Wild strawberries we've got here. A lot more punchy than, you know, the variety that you'd be familiar with. Quite a lot of zip to them. Now, I'm not sure quite what's going on with this one. I think it's peaked too early. It's been fruiting all through the summer, probably down to the heat wave we had earlier on in the year, but it certainly seems to have gone over a bit. This is much more what we'd expect at this time of year. So a few nice flowers and beginning to fruit up on this. You know, they're really good. Again, perennial. They just die back in the winter. They keep coming back. And it's a fantastic little source of interest as well. We've got 2 kids who've been, you know, what's loosely referred to as homeschooling. Just to have these little learning resources on there, and it's great, and it helps them explore, and they have a little nibble of the strawberries as well, and it's all good times. Chives, loads and loads of chives. These have been here since we moved in here, and if you look here, it's literally growing out of the cracks between the flagstones. Can't keep it away, but it's a fantastic thing. It's one of your alliums, so it's a bit milder than a spring onion or something like that. Potato salad, any kind of salad is just, you know, it's just a fantastic thing. Again, they flower, so they have the added benefit for pollinators, and just every so often, if it bolts and goes a bit woody like this, then chop it back and it'll grow back up. And again, you know, like I say, just sort of sprouting out from between the cracks in the paving slabs. Can't keep it down, but it's a fantastic resource to have. We'll come back to the greenhouse later. We shall finish our tour in the greenhouse, I think. But back in here, and this is where we start to get into some of the activity that's been a bit more unique to this year. In common, I think, with a lot of people, we're spending a lot more time around the house. We've got into the, well, I say we, it's more the missus has been leading on this. I've been getting into the whole home growing kind of spirit. And you can see here, there's pretty much every concave object in the household has been in some format repurposed into a planter. This is just an old wicker basket that's lined with the plastic bags from a compost. Shove a couple of holes in the plastic just to let it drain, and you can see there it's made a really effective planter. Here's your more orthodox kind of strawberries. Again, you can see got some good fruit coming on. I used to work with a guy who grew strawberries in tights. Essentially, you get an old pair of tights and fill the legs up with your compost soil mixture, and then you can cut slits in the stockings and plant them vertically, so you can have kind of 6 or 8 strawberry plants in a single set of tights, and then you just hang them up, so you can, it's really efficient use of space, and you get all your strawberries in there. Now here I'll pull back a bit, your runner beans, but what we've done here is co-planted these, so we've got a courgette plant in underneath, and if I go in there, proof of concept, where is it? There we go. That's going to be our first harvest of the year. Probably would have done it already, but I wanted to save it so that I had something to show you guys. But yeah, you can co-plant these two because they don't necessarily compete with nutrients. Indeed, the beans are very helpful because they fix nitrogen and actually enrich the soil. And obviously, with the beans being runner beans and growing vertically, they're not competing for light either. So that's been really, really fruitful, and you can see just coming into flower, and looking forward to a decent crop of runner beans from this one. Oh look, got another courgette coming. It's one of the problems with having this many courgette plants is give us a couple of weeks and we'll be having courgettes for breakfast, lunch and dinner. Potato here, this is a bit of a slightly odd one. Started life as a pet potato from our young daughter. So it's not probably the best of things. This was just a potato that was lying in the veg rack that started sprouting, and we put it in the ground. I think the accepted wisdom is that you ought to be using proper seed potatoes, but this is as much about the process as as anything else, we might get a few decent spuds out of it. It's grown in a bag as well. Lovely B&M bargains. Other discount retailers are available. But also this is another one of these ones, a bit like the mint, where a lot of people will advise that you grow them in containers, because if you grow them in open soil, and I hear this a lot from people with allotments, no matter how carefully you harvest them and dig them up, you'll always miss one. And then when you've rotated your crops and in the middle of your purple sprouting broccoli, sure as night follows day, up will sprout a potato, and you're back to square one again. And it's good to do them in a bag. You can actually get special potato bags, because over time you have to earth them up. So when the shoots come up, you top them up with a bit of extra soil, and that's what gives you lots of potatoes underneath as the tubers develop. And now into the greenhouse, which I think history will say at some point that we've probably overplanted this. But never mind that. We have loads of chili plants, and again, this is propagated from one that we grew. Well, we've been growing the same lot on for years and years and years. We just harvest the chili in the autumn, dry it out, dry the seeds, plant them on, and they come on really, really well. It's one of the side effects of lockdown. Normally we'd do a big sort of, swap meet with chili plants and other seedlings at work. Clearly we've not been able to get in. So we've got about 30 of the things left. Try as we might, we can't give them away. So anyone in the North Oxfordshire area who's in the market for a chili plant, do just shout me. And you can see some of the ones down here a bit further on. They're stacked quite deep. But this garden's west facing, that's our westerly direction. So we get quite a good spread of sunlight, and hopefully they're not too competitive with each other. Loads of tomatoes. Now, James made me promise to talk about buzz pollination at this point, which is, if you like, it's the wholesale version of pollination. I think we're all familiar with the standard model where a bee will go into one flower, pick up a bit of pollen, go into another flower, drop it off, etc., etc. Buzz pollination is a bit of a different approach, where some species of bee will actually latch onto a stem and vibrate their wings and buzz and actually shake the pollen loose in a cloud. And that's particularly with things like tomatoes, where you get these big bracts of flowers. That's how they pollinate. Oh, I need to take that out. I think you should be taking those little lateral shoots out. So what else have we got? More beans here, dwarf beans this time, not the runners. And a few more herbs in here. We've got the sage in there. So with sage, rosemary and thyme, we're on 75% of Scarborough Fair. Again, this greenhouse is something that we acquired with the house. We haven't really done much in the way of gardening before, but finding our way, and it's a fantastic resource to have at our disposal. And I think that completes the tour, really. I hope you've enjoyed it. Like I said, it's not it's not a massive deal. We don't have a veg patch, a formal kind of growing area, but certainly again in the summer of lockdown, it's given us a load more interest, plenty to talk with the kids about, and we're just, as I said, with those courgettes, just starting to get into the point of time where we start to reap the bounty, and I look forward to sampling it extensively. So that's me. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Do keep on paying attention to the feed that's on my.naturehood.uk, and if you haven't yet signed up for an account with us, please do. There's loads of good stuff happening in Naturehood, and we'll look forward to catching up with you again next week. Thanks a lot. Bye.